Good afternoon, good evening. Like we say on this show, it all depends on the time zone from where you are watching us from. Welcome to The Leader, courtesy of the Evangelical Alliance of Kenya and the Catholic, coming to you on Hope TV. This show is all about leadership, it's all about the leader, it's all about just unpacking positive attributes and encouraging good governance. And on show today is a gentleman, a friend who I have known for a while now, who wears very many hats. Dr. Njuguna,
Yes.
one hat that you wear that is so relevant to
Yes.
today's topic
Yes.
is that you are the co-chair
Yes.
of the National Steering Committee
Yes.
Global Leadership Summit.
Amen. Yes. Something that I've been involved in for more than 10 years. Since the very, very beginning of the Global Leadership Summit, by the grace of God, I have been with Dr. Mairori and the team since they ran the first Global Leadership Summit at Nairobi Baptist.
2007, if I recall.
Yes. Then we moved here at Valley Road. And we have been doing this until Valley Road became very small for us.
A good problem.
A good problem.
Yes.
And we went to Karen, Sitam Karen, and amazingly,
Yes.
for the first time that we held the summit there, we were amazed at the number of people that came. We recorded over 5,000.
Now, let me ask, because that was speaking to leadership.
Yes.
But the
yes.
question is the difference between being a leader and leadership, which is really the crux of the matter today?
Yes.
What's the difference, if at all?
The difference between leadership and a leader.
Yes.
You see, we say leadership is influence. And we always have said, if you call yourself a leader and you have no positive influence to the people who follow you, then you are not a good leader.
Yes.
Because one of the aspects of a leader, if you're a leader, first you need to be somebody who is guided by certain ideals. And you need to be able also to be a person who is creative. And you don't, and again, another thing that I have noticed is about leadership. Leadership always sees what nobody else is seeing and is able to influence people to that bigger picture. And that's why we celebrate a man who is the brainchild of this whole leadership summit. Who we are thinking about 29 years, going to 30 years of the global leadership network that takes place in Chicago, in Barrington, Chicago. But the key thing is the leadership aspect is so important. And I pray that even in our country, those that aspire for leadership positions, whether it's at county level or national level, I wish they can understand that if you're going to be a good leader, you have to engage something we call positive energy. And positive energy will be able to get people from where they are to another position that is better than where they are. And I'm excited because of leadership is not just a title that you carry. Because a lot of people think that, and I like John Maxwell, because John Maxwell says the lowest level of leadership in the hierarchy of leadership is positional leadership, because you have been given a title.
That's the lowest.
That's the lowest.
Yes.
Because by the time you are that leader that people really admire, they follow you. They follow you because of the value you bring to their lives. They follow you because of the changes that you have helped them to master. Because leadership is about influencing. And they say that if you look behind you and you can't see anybody following you, then you should consider you're just taking a walk. You're not a
Taking a
leader.
walk.
You're just taking a walk, and it's also healthy.
It's okay.
But but you're not a leader.
Right.
So when I look at the picture of leadership, you're not talking about just leadership in the church. With the Global Leadership Summit, we look at the entire spectrum of leadership, because I usually tell people in some of I run an interactive programs about a program that I call Biblical Perspective in current issues, and I tell people there are three institutions that must be able to be committed to ideals of good leadership. The family. And that's why I tell people, like when I'm encouraging people in the church to come to the Leadership Summit, I'm telling people, listen, don't say you are not a leader. If you're a family person, even a good family management requires leadership. Then if you're in the church, the same, and also in the government. Because these three institutions are ordained by God for the welfare of humanity. You have a bad family upbringing, a father who was always weird, drunk, absent. You as a child will not be raised in a healthy environment. If you're in a church where the pastor is manipulative, domineering, is always thinking about himself, not about your interest, you are not going to get what God desired in least in the church. If you are a leader within the corporate and you are so insecure so that anybody working for you who is seeming like they have the potential of coming up, you keep knocking them because you feel threatened. One of the books I've written is Insecure Leaders. I've written 7 books, but one of the books I've written is Becoming a Secure Leader.
A secure leader.
But I've also now explained what it is to be insecure.
Yes.
And insecure leader can be it can be in a church, even in a family. Do you know there are many husbands who are so insecure in their leadership because of the wife becoming a person of influence in society, a person who is making good money, instead of you seeing us as a benefit. You see as if this person is that way and they are intimidating you, and you try now to talk hard on them. Or I find it very, very, and this is all because of the aspect of not becoming a leader, even if you are in leadership.
Now let's look at the different leadership styles that exist.
Yes.
We hear of authoritarian leadership.
Yes.
We hear of democratic leadership.
Yes.
We hear of benevolent leadership.
Yes.
All these different styles.
Yes.
What are they, and are they necessary? Are they positive?
Authoritarian
leadership
is very, very unwise. Because you see, when you talk about authoritarian leadership, it's a leadership where no one can question you.
It's your word.
It's your word.
Nothing else.
It's either your word
or the highway.
And the problem with that is that people who respond to that leadership do what they do out of fear of the consequence, meaning that you are a brutal person, you have no mercy, you are not compassionate. But you see, I usually tell, and this is a principle, and anybody can take this to the bank. You can get everything you need from your followers if you can know the style of being persuasive instead of abrasive. An abrasive leader demands and wants to domineer. A persuasive leader has the degree of what Maxwell calls interactive. In other words, you interact with your people, and it's a very powerful thing, because as soon as people know that you are leading them and you want their input, and you encourage them and energize them, you motivate them to give their best, you are good to go.
What about transformational leadership and servant leadership? Do you have even examples in the Bible that you can highlight?
Transformational leadership, I think somebody who was actually a transformational leader is Jesus himself. Because we are a testimony ourselves of what he did. we have been transformed. And the Bible says that in the book of Romans chapter 12, it brings the aspect of be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Yes.
And therefore, when you talk about a transformational leader, one of the aspects of a transformational leader, he is value-based. He guides people to understand about the issues of morality, issues of godly standards, and more important, he wants to be an example. You know, Apostle Paul said something that is so profound. He told people, follow me as I follow Christ. And he said, the things you have seen and heard and seen me do them. Can you imagine how many leaders can be able to look at their congregation without any fear of reprisal in terms of saying, hey, you can't tell us to do this, and you don't do it yourself. And I really get concerned because also within if you are a transformational leader, another aspect that's so important about a transformational leader is that you are inspirational. You inspire people.
You inspire others.
You inspire others. And you also have what can be called, and that's one of the things. And of course, we all have various choices we make. I wish even when we are choosing our political leaders, we can be able to consider what has this person done to earn my confidence. And not what they are promising. Because promises,
Yes.
promises are huge. But what is it they have done to show that what they are telling me they will do, they will do? Because this is what they have done. I usually tell people, even for us who preach, I tell people, and I'm not ashamed to tell people, listen, I did not just show up. You can track my leadership from when I was in high school, 50 years ago.
Right.
And the journey.
Those traits are there. You can see that.
Yeah.
That DNA is there.
You track me when I was in high school, track me when I went in a working life, track me as a pastor, and see whether there's something that can impress you, so that now what I promise,
you can believe. You can
believe. One of the greatest tragedy of our time is that we have some people just showing up.
But Pastor, if we use that standard,
yeah,
will we have anybody in Parliament? With all due respect,
I mean, most members of Parliament cannot be my friends because sometimes I speak a bit hard to them because I tell them. A lot of people are looking upon you. You call yourself honorable, but you're not living a life of even that honor. A name you are calling, honorable member of Parliament.
Should be exhibited, not just a title.
It's
that you are attached to your name.
Because how can you be an honorable member of Parliament and you are reckless in the way that you treat people, that you're only interested with people because you want their votes? After they have put you in there, you can't even pick their phones. And that's a moral issue.
That's right.
Because, and that's why we are seeing a very big turnover whenever we go to elections. There are people, they know they're only there for one term.
And indeed.
And they will not come back. Why? Because they don't have a track record. Personally, I'm impressed because whereas we can say we have people in Parliament who are not as good, I still can look at people within Parliament or in the journey of leadership who have shown some marks. I had somebody, it's not always good for someone to blow their trumpet, but I had somebody celebrating the governor of Homa Bay and what she has accomplished, being the first woman governor. I said, well, that's great. At least there's somebody who has seen something. But the key thing is whether it's a governor or right now, you are maybe a cabinet secretary or a principal secretary. I was very, very impressed yesterday to be in a forum where they were introducing the new digital IDs that they are developing.
Yes.
And I was very impressed by the ambassador, who is a PS, because he spoke to us as church leaders in a forum, and he persuaded us. He said, "There's no hidden agenda here. Please don't see this as a number 666." That's what he was telling us. No, because that's what happens.
Yes.
But it is something that I would like to talk in this program, and it's one of the concerns that were raised within the leadership forum. He said, "Well, this thing seems to be very convincing. It seems that the country will be safe because nobody will come and buy into a citizenship just because they paid money. Because at the very point of birth, there is something that will happen for you to get a number that you will carry throughout your life until you die.
That's unique unto you.
That's unique unto you." And I wonder whether it can compare with something that happens in America, because America, they have a social security number. And I think that also, that is not, when it's yours, that's yours. And it's unique to you. Because even for me, having stayed in America and studied there, I stayed for about 5 years, then went back to do some other learning, I have it. And there's so many places they will demand that I put it. And it means there's nobody who has that number.
But now let's also look at the aspect of servant leadership.
Yeah.
And when you unpack what servant leadership is, in the various contexts, what does it mean? And when one is understood or is identified as a servant leader, does it mean any sign of weakness? Does it mean...
No. A servant leader actually is a very good attitude for me to say that as I serve the people of Deliverance Church Langata, where I pastor, or as I serve the people of Deliverance Church International, where I serve with Bishop Mark, Bishop Masinde, and others in the national executive team, that I'm not going to carry myself as a boss, because you see that mentality that I'm the boss is contradictory to servant, because a servant leader will see themselves, because Jesus himself, can you imagine that Jesus himself never exhibited himself as a boss?
Never.
Because that is why he would take a basin and a towel and wash the disciples' feet. Do you know, if you have that element of feeling that you are the boss, do you think you can do that?
Never.
So the greatest example is Jesus himself. And that is why, even when he said that he wanted to war, Peter almost protested. Because he said, "How can you?" But when Jesus insisted that he needed to do it, Peter submitted and said, "Listen, you don't always have to wash my feet. You can do whatever you want to do." So that's what we see the example of Jesus, that Jesus was a servant leader. And what we need in this country, not from every level, is servant leaders. And from the church level, from the corporate level. And I have come to discover in my journey of leadership that it doesn't diminish who I am as a person. If I'm walking around the compound of the Deliverance Church Nangata, and I'm the senior pastor, and I see a paper that I can pick and put in a dustbin, I have workers who can do that and should do that. But I cannot leave it there.
Just because you're a leader.
Just because I'm the CEO, because it doesn't diminish, and that's why you say, even as a father, because as a father you are a leader, there are some things you can do. And doesn't diminish who you are. Like now, consider, like for me now where I am, all my kids are gone. My youngest is 36
Right.
in her own family. So I'm with my wife. Can you imagine if I would start treating my wife as if I'm her boss?
Yes.
and refuse to serve her. So and if I went, for example, we actually stayed for about 3 years when it was only the two of us in the house. Other people were outside because of either security or other issues that happened in the outside of the but we used to just be the two of us. If you have the concept of a servant leader, even if you know you are the head of that family, you're not treating your wife as a slave or somebody just to serve you, but you can go to the kitchen and say, and you work together.
Complement each other.
Complement each other.
Yeah.
If it's a date that you want to eat ugali, you can say, you fix the vegetables, let me do the ugali. But if you start thinking, can a bishop be able to cook ugali? Why not?
Yes.
And remember, at home, I'm the husband. I'm not the bishop.
Yeah.
No.
First and foremost,
I'm the husband. I know she still looks for me as a spiritual leader, but I cannot be able to abuse that position. And therefore, servant leadership is what we need. Because when you think about servant leaders, and we have great examples. If you look at what is happening within the county government today, any governor that is going out of the way to better the lives of the people, like now in our country, with a very high cost of living and very challenging economic environment, aggravated by things that are outside of our control. Because the way things have been since the times of, and I usually tell people, let's not forget where we are coming from. First, we had the locust invasion. By the time even the locust was over, then we had COVID. Then we had a drought, the worst in 40 years. And I still will never forget, and some people forget, when we went to Nyayo Stadium, and I was in Nyayo Stadium for a prayer meeting where even the national leadership attended. There are people even from the church perspective, I still remember one person, I can't mention names, who was criticizing the prayers, saying that what we need is not prayer. Wow. Now listen, if you are a Christian at all, please, you cannot say prayer is not important. Because you yourself, even to be a Christian, is an answer to prayer. Maybe your mother prayed for you. Maybe somebody prayed you in. But do you see what the Lord did? Even if it never rained immediately. And by the way, that same day, Nyere people said they got rain. But do you know the rains we received at that prayer meeting is what has brought...
Prayer works.
Prayer works.
Yes.
I traveled, I flew to Kisumu, then drove all the way to Busia in July of this year. I was shocked by the amount of maize that was in the farms. And right now we're talking about a bumper harvest. I think the last I heard the president say is that we are talking about harvesting over 42 million bags.
When it could have been otherwise.
That's
right. Yeah.
Just because people prayed. So even now, please don't stop praying and don't allow anybody to tell you prayer doesn't work. Even now, as we are looking for GLS next week, we're asking you to pray for us because we have a very high expectation. Please pray that people will come, because I can guarantee you, and I'm talking to you from the journey of experience, and to show you how important this Global Leadership Summit is, our offices in Deliverance Church Langata remain closed for those 2 days. Everybody, including the caretaker, is in GLS.
Now, talk to me about a visionary leader. Because, and again, you can have your vision, and there's a collective vision, and being able to rope in others to buy into that vision. But that vision may be your personal vision where you want to take people, not necessarily where we need to go.
You see, a visionary leader, when we talk about a visionary leader has a picture that they see, and like, I think this should be Bill Hybels. Bill Hybels taught us, and he has come to Kenya and taught us many times in the Global Leadership Summit. He says that the work of a leader is to take people from here to there, but they can't see there. So you are working very hard to persuade them that going there, when we get there, will be better. Now, I want to talk about visionary leaders. The visionary leader sees things that nobody is seeing. You see, like now, for example, for us, when we went to Langata, anybody who can remember, we started with a tent, a 38-round foot tent. And I still remember too well that the first service we had in March of 1993, we had people coming to support us from Umoja, where I had come from, and other places. And the whole service, the people who are now the nucleus to begin with, were actually below 10. And as we continued in that tent, we continued expanding the tent more and more. Then one time I told them, I believe that God is calling us to raise a building. And what I saw in the building, I actually had an architect do a model. And I brought that model to the small tent and I positioned it somewhere. And I started telling people, that is where we are dreaming. That's what we are dreaming to do.
Yes.
It looks like a big joke. And I will not forget, then when we surrounded, we got girl shit in the property where the church is now, and we surrounded about 3/4 of an acre.
Like scaffolding around it now.
Just to put around where we are going to start raising the building. And no one would associate the tent in that building. No. Because how can you be here and you are going there? And by the grace of God, we started small, and now we are there. I remember being in a prayer meeting at South B, where pastors used to meet for prayer. And one pastor spoke to me and said, Dr. Njuguna, just tell me, how could you spend money to get all those girl sheets and put them around that you want to build a church? Don't you know Jesus is coming back? I mean, don't you know that the girl sheet you have surrounded, this is enough material?
Could have done other things.
No.
Yes.
Enough material to put up a church.
Oh, right.
Which is true.
Yes.
There was a lot of my butt. Can you imagine surrounding 3/4 of an acre? And you're not actually surrounding it. It is actually putting a little distance from it.
Mm-hmm.
But something happened that I will never forget. Because I looked at that pastor and said, everything I said is true. The only thing that I can tell you is not true is that I needed to put up a Mabati building. Because that is not what I saw. So I want to do, like we find in the Old Testament context, build according to the pattern of what I saw. Then he said, and I told them, even if Jesus comes back before we are done,
it's okay.
It's okay. I had good intentions to put up a building that people can be able to worship without a threat. Because remember, we ourselves in the church, we had suffered a crisis when one morning during El Nino, the tent was down. And I remember a watchman calling me very early in the morning at about 5:30 in the morning, tell me, Pastor, kanisa imeanguka.
Imeenda.
So it was very interesting because you see, I told them, no, please, I first, instead of just getting scared about their first that collected their theology.
Yeah.
And told them the church haiwezi anguka.
Haiwezi.
Hapana, kanisa haiwezi anguka.
It's not the physical.
Ni
church is
hema imeanguka.
Hema imeanguka, sio kanisa.
Sio kanisa. So I'm talking about a vision.
Yes.
I'm amazed at the vision. If you go to, for example, even here in this country, there are people, even let's say where we are now, Sitam Valley Road. I still remember the small church.
Oh, yes.
Yeah? And if I told you to close your eyes and even think how it looked, you can't. Because this place has completely changed.
Look at where Sitam is today.
Because of a vision.
That's right.
Even for us as the Deliverance Church, we thank God. I can say without fear of condition, we have a vision leader in Bishop Mark. Many people don't know right now, but we have developed a very, very modern headquarters in Roiro. I'd like you to visit there sometime. Look at what it's happening in not just Sitam, but look at Milimani. Look at Nairobi Baptist. And all these are works of vision. And I challenge people, I tell them, listen, do not limit the capacity you have. If you trust in God and you're willing to put your best foot forward as a leader, and please do not also be afraid of bringing other people. And don't just look at the people that you can always talk down to. Bring people who have the capacity. One of the things I enjoy is enlisting leaders who do not have, who have sometimes in their way of doing things I'm not able to do. And one of the joys that I can say is that I have never made any of my associate pastor make me feel insecure.
And that is a wonderful opportunity to take a break.
Yes.
As there's more on the other side.
Yes.
When we discuss the context, the challenges, and even reluctant leaders.
Yeah.
Stay with us.
Yeah.
Yesu ndiye njia.
Mtoto gani katika hii ulimwengu ameitwa Mungu mkuu?
Nasema akasema udhu billahi.
Hata leo usisema udhu billahi, tafadhali usikize.
Yesu ndiye njia. Uchambuzi wa masuala tata katika Biblia na vitabu vingine vya kidini.
We don't believe that Christ was crucified. Christ was taken right to heaven by 4 angels, 4 archangels.
Kama Muhammad ndiye alikuwa wa kwanza kuleta dini ya Kiislamu, na alikuja after Jesus, sasa inawezekanaje Ibrahimu awe Muislamu, Musa awe Muislamu?
Yesu ndiye njia. Mjadala wa moja kwa moja kati ya walimu wa Kikristo na dini zingine.
Wanasema Mwenyezi Mungu ana mtoto. Jambo hilo wanasema limeleta jambo ambalo linachukiza.
Siri ya Mungu ambaye Mungu amejidhihirisha katika mili. Hii yote ni ukafiri.
Mmefanya makosa makubwa sana kusema kwamba Isa ibn Maryam ni Mungu wa pili na Allah ambaye ameumba mbingu na ardhi mkasema ni Mungu wa tatu.
Yesu ndiye njia. Jumamosi kuanzia 1:30 jioni kwenye runinga uipendayo ya Hope TV.
I've actually been trying to find a balance. It's been really tough and hectic, but everyone says once you get a hang of it, it becomes better, and I don't know, but I'm hoping to find the balance soon because it's really been hectic. But you've been in the job industry for a long time, so I think you would know better. Sindio?
Huh? What time is it? I need to catch up on Leadership Forum. Did they have a radio here? Never mind. I brought my own.
No way. You can't be serious. Wait, why do you have a radio and you can just catch up with the shows on Hope FM podcast?
Really? Even Meet of the Word?
Yeah. I mean, you can find them on whatever platform, name it. AfriPods, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it.
But I'm not subscribed on any of them.
Oh, no worries. You can just check out the latest episodes on hopemediakenya.org.
You can now listen to select Hope FM programs on your favorite podcast streaming platform.
Welcome back. As we continue in this discussion of leaders versus leadership, Bishop.
Yes.
Leadership in different contexts. Do we have reluctant leaders? Someone may see the leadership attributes in you when you yourself may not even be aware. And we have leaders who are willing to the context that they are unable.
Yes.
The others are unable to lead, but they're willing to lead.
You see the issue of leaders, and of course we have raised this question many times. Are people born leaders or are leaders made? That's a debate that has been there in the circles of leadership. We can't question the fact that leadership are born because everybody's born anyways. So you can't say that, you know. But I believe there is something that happens even when you know that you have a calling to be a leader. You have a personal responsibility to cultivate that leadership by submitting yourself to training. Like now we're inviting people for the Leadership Summit and we are telling them there are things you're going to learn in this that can change the way you do things. We have a very familiar passage which we use as a ground of basis of leadership calling. And this is Psalm 78 verse 72. That David shepherded them according to the integrity of his heart and according to the skillfulness of his hands. Just two things mentioned here. Integrity. And integrity is where morality
comes in.
That's where character is. That's where
your values,
faithfulness and the values are in the integrity. Then skillfulness is where there is your effectiveness, your abilities, and some of these things, like when you talk about competence, it will come because of training. I get very concerned because I see so many ministers. Some of them would think it's not necessary for you to go to Bible school. Right now, Bishop has given me a task which is quite huge, to be able to lead in mobilizing our pastors to train in Bible and theology in the Christian ministry curriculum. And we are partnering with the Nairobi Pentecostal Bible College. Very early in the next month, we are launching 2 classes. One will be in Kitengela, and the other one will be in one in Kitengela, and the other one will be in Gong, in the Gong area. Actually, Kiseria, to be exact, where people will come and begin being sharpened. And it says iron sharpens iron. So, and I believe those people who are going to do this training will become better. Because let me tell you, I tell pastors, whether you like it or not, you will only produce people after your own kind. You will not produce the people you want, but you will produce people after who you are. That's a biblical principle. And if you're not willing to sharpen your skills, it's very hard for you to be effective as a leader. So this is a very important thing. So I want to challenge every leader who God has called. And I tell pastors, you will choose the kind of people who will come to listen to you. Because if you expect people who are educated, graduates, doctors, lawyers, and all manner of people within the social structure, you need to know you have to work hard to prepare so that when they come to listen to you, it will have an impact on them. You cannot live in the days when it was days of ignorance, when God overlooked, that I knew I was going to speak in Harare, in Kirogoya High School or some other high school, but I didn't know any better. So I'm just praying, God, give me a word.
You have to prepare.
And sure enough,
yes.
Sometimes you just went without really knowing, but the God is too. But those were days of ignorance. But now preparation. You need to prepare for your people. let people come and know you took time to prepare what you are going to teach them. And right now we are dealing with a very sensitive issue where a lot of, remember the Shakahola issue where one single person through manipulation, we are talking about over 400 people who died, made to fast again. If somebody was telling people to fast, but they themselves
are not fasting.
How can I tell you to fast and I'm not fasting? and people are so gullible. You know what surprises me? That's why now somebody can start calling themselves Yeshua Tongalen. Is it Tongalen? Na watu wanaamini tia ni Yesu. As if there can be another Jesus.
They cannot be.
Or Jehovah, and then you see those people. I have seen things that have shocked me. And just because of having leaders that are manipulative, that I want to control the minds of people. Right now, the government is considering how can we regulate the church. And right now, thank God, there's a commission the president appointed, and I think they are at the tail end at which they are just about to give us a report. And then a decision will be made how churches will be regulated. Because churches have to be regulated because we don't want citizens. I had Parliament after the Shakahola incidents. I had them talk and they were really, really saying, no, we can't allow pastors. We have to protect, Kenyans from this selfish and all the. And I remember asking myself, I mean, do people need to be protected from me? Really? No, I hope not. But this is happening. These are real examples. So I think it's so important for us to appreciate that. If you are a leader, first, don't ever consider that you have to be looking down on people, you have to despise people, and you have to demand worship. That's another thing. Do you know only God is to be worshipped? And I would really, I tell my congregation, listen, I don't mind you giving me honor because of the Bible says give honor to whom honor is due, but please don't make a mistake. Worship belongs to God. All of us must worship.
Him and him only.
Yeah, you can't worship a human being because a human being is so vulnerable
and is fallen.
And so that is important. So in the context, because I know time will run out very easily, the kind of leaders that we prepare to come for the summits that we are inviting you to are leaders who are proven. There's no one among them who doesn't have a track record of something they are doing, whether it's those who are from our local faculty. The local faculty are people who are having a great impact in the corporate, and I'm glad that even Bishop Dr. Oginde is one of the speakers. Of course, we have others, and we look forward. And this is a man that read this work in a very tremendous way, and I admire the fact that he led, and when time was him to transit, he transited, and see where God has put him.
Yes. Now let's look at challenges that leaders face.
Yeah.
And do they even face challenges to begin with?
Oh yeah. Leaders face challenges.
What are some of these challenges?
Let me tell you.
How do they manage conflicts and?
Let me tell you some of the challenges we face. During COVID, when the church could not meet at all because of restrictions.
The in-person kind of engagement.
The in-person engagement.
Right.
There are leaders who could not continue anymore because they depended on, some of them were in rental facilities. And so they depend on people coming, they bring an offering, and they're able to pay the rent. So some of the churches, especially in some of the slum areas, owners, because it's again, these were not the churches they built, somebody built and there's a land. There are people who had the situations where somebody comes and say, "Please, I want to convert this to some rooms or something so I can get money. So please remove your benches so we can subdivide for rental facility." And I must admit, it was a very, very trying time through the COVID season. The 6 months, it was a whole 6 months when we could not actually meet. And it was so strange because nobody had experienced that before. And thank God for those of us, of course, who have our own building, like Valley Road here, or churches that nobody was asking rent for. So the fact that people didn't come, though you still have to trust God for how you're going to maintain the building. Because even if people are not gathering, if you have a building, it still has to be maintained. So, and I want to say that one of the challenges that churches and leaders face is that they have sometimes very big dreams, but the resources to carry out those dreams sometimes are not there. So what you have to do is to keep prioritizing so that you can only do what you want to do, because again, you don't want to be in debt. You see, for us in Kenya, except things could be changing over time, you usually can't getting loans. Many times there are constitutions that don't even allow you to take a loan, so that you have to depend on what you have. So I think the economic challenges, like now currently, you see, our members are Kenyans. So if there are hardships, they're also affected. We keep encouraging them to know that they just give the best effort and trust God, because God can be able to still come through for them, because God is faithful. Right now, we think about the high cost of fuel, the high cost of some of the food items, but of course not unga anymore. Unga, do you know a lot of people are not even going to buy unga? They have it.
Yes.
Why? They have maize. Even for me, I'm not going to. I have a little garden around my house where I planted some maize and I harvested some. So sasa nasaga unga.
And it is healthy.
It's very healthy.
Now, what about a situation where, as a leader, you must then manage conflicts, because this world is fallen?
Yeah.
Christ, when he left, said, "Listen, in this world you will have challenges."
Yeah. Conflict are really real. Conflict are real, and even with your best of intentions, you are going to run into a situation where you will solve a conflict. But based on your degree of maturity as a believer, you can be able to approach any matter of conflict from a point of being redemptive or reconciliatory, because I have seen it. I've seen it in the journey, and sometimes some of the conflicts are actually completely out of order, because the nature of man is selfish. I've had situations in the journey of the leadership, and I know even when you are leadership in a setup of like now my chair of a minister's fellowship, and sometimes conflict would come because there are people that are so self-centered that even instead of understanding that in leadership you sometimes have to be collaborative, you feel like what you want is what needs to be done. I can give an example without mentioning names. I'm part of a team, and we were gathering together to prepare to go and make our presentation to the national dialogue. And we met to look at the document so that we can all agree and be on one page. But we didn't finish the meeting. All of us couldn't finish because 2 people walked away. And I asked myself, walking away for what? The person who is chairing the meeting has to listen to all the views and sometimes look for a position that is collaborative. But you can't go into a meeting. I can't go for a meeting and think it can
only be your way.
It can only be my way. No, then you're not supposed to be even in a team. And again, I think you have talked about the aspect of a team spirit in working.
Yes.
In any functional team, and I think it's important for our audience, in any functional team, there needs to be excellent communication. The leader must clarify what is it that people need to understand. Where are we going? So that everybody can be able to align to that. Then there needs to be clarity when working with a cross-functional team. Conflict and misunderstanding that result in lack of accountability are common. We all have heard before. I thought he was going to do that. You see? I thought he was going to do that. But you see, in one of the aspects of human predicament is that I can only take responsibility of my actions. In other words, I cannot be able to make anybody do what I want them to do. It's not my child, not my spouse. So I can try to influence them to do what I think is good.
Yes.
But in a team spirit, there has to be mutual understanding. And we need to, in what we call in mutual understanding, it could be that every one of your team members understand the importance of the task at hand. Keep in mind that the responsibility of the cross-functional team are often in addition to your team members existing to something we call a do list. And don't be ambiguous. One of the most unfortunate things about leaders is when you are a leader,
lack of clarity,
and you are so ambiguous, it's not clear. Nobody, you are so unpredictable. I would like, I would like people to understand where I'm going with what I want to do, but not to be ambiguous. But this is the problem is, if you are a leader who is insecure, you usually would like to keep people guessing.
And you sit on the fence. We don't know whether you're blowing hot or cold. And you want to be the side of my... can I suggest that you can be a visionary leader heading in the right direction, but you find that others are not necessarily with you depending on their interests. So then does it mean then you change to follow them or lead them? Or to whom are you accountable to or answerable to?
One of the things I do, and right now, and I still do that up to this day, is that in a church where I'm the senior pastor, I have appointed elders. And these elders, from time to time, I present them before the congregation. And I tell the congregation, if you have any question about the way we are doing things here, and you don't have the courage to come and talk to me, talk to all these people.
Speaking truth to power.
They have the permission to tell me anything without offense. The other thing I do, and sometimes I'm very, very particular on this, and my leaders know this, I do not allow people who are members of my congregation who call me their pastor, but they are kept from, if they say they want to see me,
accessing,
that they can't access.
So then you have got the gatekeepers,
and
they manage you.
That one I really, but I sometimes have had situations where I wish that somebody was not clear to come to me. Because there are people who think that, the pastor has a lot of money somewhere, that they will come and tell you they need this, and all you have to do is to go to the drawer.
And then just pick and just dish left, right, and center.
And that is not true. I wish they could understand that we don't keep money that is, we don't have money that is accessible. And I usually tell people, how many people, if you set a precedent, that nobody can come and they're getting money. And sometimes I have all manner of things. Sometimes we even have people who come, you know, they are even sometimes foreigners, and that's what. And it's like, they think I have a lot of money that they can just come and I have money to give them. And really, even if I had money, in fact, what I desire to do is more than the money I have.
Exactly.
Like now we have a mission center in Mandogo, next to Garissa town. We bought land. We have not really started building. Whereas I don't want that protection. Sometimes the secretary says someone wants to see me, and sometimes I send them to my personal assistant, so that they can hear them. They deal with them.
That's right.
If there's something that needs to come to my attention, then
you would.
They can come.
Yeah.
Because you can't be able to solve all problems. Even remember the advice that Moses was given when he wanted to be the one that everybody's going to. And then Jethro said, no, guy, you're going to kill yourself.
Indeed. Now, as we progress on, let's quickly look at leaders who may be reluctant. Or leaders who, there are those who may be nominated, elected, and where you are Muheshimiwa, and then God takes you away. But then now, you are people who, some may have interest, say, no. Your son, Bishop, must be the leader here to finish the good work that you started. As if there are no other leaders who can come in. What's your comment on that? I know it can be tricky because then...
It can be tricky.
They say that
the big question...
tree doesn't fall far from the... apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
That's a question that is a bit tricky, especially given the balance of the time we have to wind up the program. But I must say this. When a leader is leading in a church setup, please do not let your son or daughter think that that church is part of their inheritance. Let them know the boundary. You have personal property. You have a land somewhere. That is part of them. And if that son will come and become part of the ministry, it will be because...
in their own right, not necessarily.
It's their own right. Not because they are coming and you're going to impose them, but it's because they have commanded that respect. And they have shown the aspect of calling, and they are going to attract the confidence of the people. And we see some of these things happen in America. Like, I think about someone like Joel Austin, who took over from his father.
Yes.
And he's doing wonderful.
Yes.
But you see, you can't challenge his effectiveness as a minister.
Exactly.
So if I have a son who really aspires to be in ministry, let their ministry be evident to all.
Exactly.
So that when they step into in those shoes, it will be seen that...
And in all fairness... it should not be held against them in being given opportunity. You are your own man or woman in that case. Passing the baton.
Passing the baton.
Now, that is where we have a challenge, should I suggest, and it'll be unfair to us here, in third world, and especially in Africa, and even in corporates.
Both in political
and other spheres.
Other spheres.
You hang on and remain until...
I think they say that you cannot be considered to be a success until your successor has succeeded. So I want to encourage the people who know very well that they need to pass on the baton. Please do it. And you will walk with your toes high, because you are doing it not because you have been pushed out, but because you have said, I have done my contribution, and now I'm ready to allow somebody else to do it with my support.
And as you do so, because we are almost running out of time here, let's quickly talk about the aspect of mentorship in leading and
Yes.
again being an effective leader
Yeah.
without necessarily being in the front?
Now, you can have a son you mentor. Like now, I do have some sons who I work with more closely than everybody else, and I trust them. Now, it is so important to know that everybody you are put in leadership should be mentoring somebody. Just in case they had an emergency and they are not there, somebody can come in and do it. That's the issue of mentoring. I think we are the pressure of time, and we will carry on this conversation some other time.
Indeed, as you're parting shot, call to action in terms of that person watching, that person who's been listening.
Yeah.
What should they do? Where can they go?
One thing to encourage you who have followed this program, lead where you are. And that's the theme of our conference this year. Everybody, leadership is a needed credential in any aspect of life. You lead to you first begin by leading yourself, by doing what is your responsibility. Then if you are in a corporate society, know what the objective of the company is, know the objective of the church, and make your contribution. Don't be lazy. Learn to wake up early. Learn to put your best foot forward. May God bless you.
Indeed. How time flies.
Yeah.
We thank you for the privilege of your time.
Yes.
We don't take it for granted. This has been the leader, Bishop.
Yes.
Asante sana.
Amen.
Let's meet at the Global
Leadership Summit.
Stay well.
Amen.
Stay blessed.
Amen. God bless.
Asante.
Amen.